Meghan Markle has finally announced what she's going to be providing Netflix with for all those millions of dollars. But what is the close bond that drew her towards pop maestro Sir Elton John? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the heart of London. This is, by the way, Victoria Park, and just behind me you can see, of course, the south side of the Houses of Parliament. Now, if you live in England, this park will be very familiar to you. This is simply because this is where they bring all the MPs for those soundbite interviews where they look so nervous and, of course, are kind of cornered by the political reporters, sometimes even me. But back to your royal story today. Well, that's right, Netflix and Meghan Markle are very proud to announce her very first series. I love the way it's her series, and of course not necessarily Prince Harry, even though he's the bigger name, bigger star. And what's also notable in Netflix's output is that they've decided to detail it Duchess, of course, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Now, this from a woman who doesn't like titles, remember, they don't mean anything. She's used to seeing celebrities all the time while living in California. Well, she seems to be clutching hold of that title very tightly to make sure, of course, that there is at least some interest in this particular production. Now, naturally, we all wish her well. It's her very first endeavour as executive producer, and that's not an easy role, let me tell you. But the story basically centres on quite a feel-good story so far. The working title is Pearl. It's all about someone who gets inspired by various people through history. Sounds familiar? Anyway, I'll leave that for you to decide. But more importantly, they've assembled a rather good team, including Sir Elton John's husband, boyfriend, whatever he wants to call himself, David Furnish. That's a little worrying because apart from tantrums and tiaras and a little bit of an association with Rocket Man, the movie, I can't quite see exactly what's on David's CV that's so spectacular someone of Meghan's calibre would want to, of course, tie up with. But here's where it gets rather interesting for me. As we know, Sir Elton John was a very good friend of the late great Princess Diana, and that's something, of course, that he's often spoke about on numerous occasions when the time is right. But this time around, of course, they do have something more of a connection. As we know, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were able to use some of the private jet and, of course, the private yacht of Sir Elton when they were going through one of their many escapes. But of course there is another connection that a very good source has passed on to me, and it's a bond apparently that Meghan and Sir Elton have really got close upon. Now, for those that don't know, Sir Elton John had a rather fractious relationship with his late mother, often not speaking for very long periods of time. And as we now know, of course, Meghan Markle hasn't spoken to her own father for over 2.5 years, and he's still yet to meet Prince Harry or indeed his 2 grandchildren. So apparently, according to that very close source, allegedly, that is the one thing that Elton and Meghan really bonded across. Apparently difficult parents. I always felt rather sorry for Sir Elton's mother, in fact, because there was a terrible article over here in the UK where she had to hire in an Elton John lookalike for her own private party. Seems really strange, but that's showbiz. Back to the story. So we can look forward, apparently, to Pearl hitting the streaming service at some point before the end of the year. No names yet attached to who's going to be providing the voiceovers, but let's consider the fact that they do have quite a plethora of famous names to dig up. Well, certainly in Prince Harry's little black book anyway. Not so sure about Meghan Markle's. Neil Sean, Victoria Gardens in the heart of London.